We have been talking about a total overhaul for this Argentina squad for quite some time now. Which fresh faces are going to join this new project with the 2030 World Cup in mind? Today, we are going to dive in and see exactly who can actually start earning their minutes on the pitch. Scaloni usually relies on just 12 or 13 core players to build his starting 11 for every single Argentina match. But let us start phasing out the older veterans and the players whose falling performances might cost them their spot on the national team. So who are the new players that could break into the starting 11? Normally, we are talking about players who are already deeply involved in this national team setup. In fact, almost everyone we are going to mention from here on out actually traveled to the last World Cup. Let us start by drawing up the familiar starting 11 that Argentina used throughout their championship run. Dibu Martínez, Romero, Lisandro, and Tagliafico. It is true that Tagliafico only reclaimed his starting spot once he was fully recovered. That tactical shift happened right as DePaul, Paredes, Exequiel, and Alexis battled in midfield, which sparked a massive wave of constant positional adjustments and changes. Enzo initially started out playing as a left midfielder before eventually transitioning into a double pivot. He then ended up anchoring the midfield in the final, never once leaving the lineup. Alexis was another absolute lock for the squad. We can safely say that out of all the midfielders, DePaul and Paredes were actually the ones who started the fewest games during this tournament. Paredes did not make the starting 11 for the final, and DePaul faced a similar fate in the semifinals. Up front, it was Messi and Giuliano. It is true that Giuliano also started out sitting on the bench, but the moment he finally regained his physical peak, he became an undeniable starter for Argentina. Looking at this lineup, what can be changed in the near future? Maybe not by September, but we definitely need to map out a potential lineup for the start of the qualifiers, or at least look ahead to the Copa America. So what options does Scaloni actually have on his desk? I am not going to give opinions here. Instead, I want to analyze exactly what the manager has done and which faces he has integrated into this Argentina squad. I am not proposing brand new names. I am talking about young players who are already in the Argentina pool. Let's begin. Dibu Martínez shared a social media post that left us with serious doubts. It is unclear if he wants to continue with the national team or if he feels it is time to step aside. I will show the post right here so I do not misquote him. But Dibu is the kind of player who can easily make it to the next World Cup if he sets his mind to it, because as a goalkeeper, he is still young. He would arrive at the next tournament at 37 years old. For a keeper, that is not a bad age at all. Still, we must see if he continues or chooses to step aside. Who is it? Personally, I feel Juan Musso is the one who will take over the Argentina goal. First, though, we have to see if Musso is going to remain a backup keeper at Atletico de Madrid. There is a chance Jan Oblak leaves this summer, or Musso might transfer to Napoli. They are definitely one of the main clubs strongly interested in the Argentine goalkeeper. The incredibly high-level Musso showed throughout 2026 was outstanding. And then we have Geronimo Rulli, who has been the backup goalkeeper, might finally start losing his spot with Argentina. After Lionel Messi and Nicolas Otamendi, Rulli is actually the oldest player on this entire squad, currently sitting at 34 years of age today. It is true that moving to Manchester City is a massive showcase compared to League One, but he is arriving there merely to be a backup. A backup at 34 years of age like Rulli might quickly stop being the go-to choice whenever Dibu is unavailable. Because of this, I believe Musso would be the prime target to claim the spot if Dibu ever decides to step aside, taking charge of the national team goal, at least for this 2026 season. Meanwhile, on defense, Molina simply failed to deliver. Montiel is also reaching an age where he might start fading from the squad, as he would reach the next World Cup at 33. To be completely honest, I did not mind Montiel's performance in the World Cup at all. His brief moments on the pitch were actually solid, especially during the semifinal and the final. In fact, I believe he completely outperformed Molina. Actually, let me rephrase that entire thought. Montiel's performance was not nearly as bad when you compare it directly to what we witnessed from Nahuel Molina, but we can safely say that the coaching staff fell completely asleep on the right-back position during all their preparations for this World Cup. Right back was a position where the staff should have definitely brought in new faces to test them out. Instead, they only started doing that a couple of days before the World Cup with Agustín Giay and Nicolás Capaldo. Still, Agustín Giay put on a really strong, impressive showing whenever he wore the Argentina shirt. I believe everything now points to him becoming the very first real experiment for the future right-back role in this national team. For both Molina and Montiel, I do not think age will rule them out of the next cup. They absolutely need to step up their game, but I do not think the national team is the place to fix their form. Molina, whether playing for Atletico Madrid, at Roma, at Juventus, or wherever he ends up, and Montiel back at River Plate, both have to deliver performances far above what we are currently seeing on the pitch, just to ensure their spots in this national team remain secure, and do not end up handed over to Giay, who put on a highly impressive performance this past June wearing the Argentina shirt. The center-backs are completely off limits. Romero and Lisandro are locked in to anchor the defense for the next World Cup. They are still quite young, reaching the next tournament at 32, and even with Pesela and Otamendi now stepping away from the Argentine national team, the pipeline of tested talent for those central defensive spots is already looking incredibly solid, because we have Senesi, we have Valerdi, and with Fo we must wait and see if the return of Nelwen Perez deserves a real national team look. There is a highly intriguing new wave pushing hard, including Anselmino, Valentin Gomez, and let us see, yes, Tomas Palacios as well. They might put pressure on Romero and Lisandro, but honestly, this is not a position where we have to worry right now. If I had to make a bet, Cuti, Romero, and Lisandro Martínez will be our starting center backs. And for left back, Tagliafico. Just recently, Tagliafico admitted that he does not think he will make the next World Cup, stating 2026 was or should have been his final run. Look, that is just the cold reality. But the truth is that Tagliafico is still playing some absolutely incredible, top-tier soccer right now. Let me repeat something that I have been saying over and over again in almost every single video. Tagliafico is easily the single greatest left back in the entire history of the Argentine national team. Absolutely no other player in that position has ever played in 2 consecutive World Cup finals the way this incredible man did. And yes, he would reach the tournament at 37, which is a very advanced age. So what other options do we have ready to go? Medina. Medina really took a massive step forward during the last World Cup. We saw a version of Medina that made us wonder if Tagliafico even needed to return. And yes, he did return just to show us his elite level, but honestly, Medina had done absolutely nothing wrong to deserve losing his starting spot in this Argentine national squad. Keep in mind that the World Cup actually began with Medina starting because Tagliafico arrived injured, he got hurt during pre-tournament training. So Medina's performance was incredibly strong, even when thrown straight into the intensity of the World Cup. We do not have to look way back in time to find some solid performances from May or April. I am telling you, right there in June and July of this very tournament, we saw a hungry Medina who can absolutely claim that starting spot. But who is backing him up? And that is the problem. Left back is nothing like our central defense, where we already have a tight, fully established rotation of center backs. We already have 5 central defenders who have played some very solid games for Argentina. For a left back, we actually have to go out and search. We must see if Soler, after that long injury layoff, keeping him out since January, can find any minutes at Bournemouth. But honestly, it does not look very promising. Then there is Mateo Del Blanco. If he can establish himself at Strasbourg and successfully bring his game to the Argentine national team. Yes, Simón Escobar, the kid from Vélez and captain of the under-17 squad, is definitely a project player for the next World Cup, though we still need to see if he will play at full back or push further up, because we are currently seeing Guillermo deploy him quite often as a winger on the far left side. Placent has used him as both a central midfielder and a left-sided midfielder, but the absolute best we saw of young Simón Escobar in the past youth tournament was when he played at left back, which is what made him stand out. Honestly, for his age, he is a player we must watch closely. But as of right now, getting back to our main focus here, Medina would be the direct and immediate replacement for Tagliafico if he decides to step aside, even though Tagliafico himself has stated that he will not retire right now. In other words, when Tagliafico talks about the next World Cup, I honestly do not think he will step away from the Argentine national team before the upcoming Copa America. Moving to the midfield, we absolutely do not touch Enzo and Alexis. Both of them will remain key for Argentina because of their elite quality and youth, because we know they play at a world-class, elite level. Naturally, we have to integrate their game with the fresh faces entering this new starting 11, but these two players are completely off limits. Now we have to wait and see what happens with Paredes. Paredes shared the exact same mindset as Dibu, openly wondering if it is finally time to step aside or if they should keep pushing forward with the Argentine national team. Those were essentially his words. Look, Paredes has been showing a level of performance both at Boca and during the World Cup, that proves he absolutely belongs in this squad, giving him a real chance to fight for a starting spot in the upcoming Copa America. But let us also face the cold hard facts here. Paredes will be 35 by the time the next World Cup starts, so we need to prepare for that scenario. What do? Scaloni decided to bring in Palacios. Whenever Paredes was not fully healthy, Scaloni trusted Palacios to step up during the critical pre-tournament preparations. This is a talent we really need to start developing. We must give Palacios consistent minutes in the Argentine national team. He is still quite young at 27 and would reach the next World Cup at 31. Right now, there are rumors of a big Premier League transfer. He is definitely a player we should test out a bit more with the national team, especially considering we have upcoming matches that are not going to be highly critical in terms of pressure, since they will mostly be friendly games. So testing Palacios in the center of the midfield would honestly be a very smart move. I actually believe this is exactly what Lionel Scaloni is planning to do. I did the same thing in June before the World Cup with Rodrigo de Paul. He is another massive name who could easily lose his starting spot with the Argentine national team. He did not even start in that crucial semifinal match, sitting on the bench instead. But the moment he subbed in, he played so well that he earned a starting spot for the final. Then, in the final, just like the rest of the squad, he struggled to perform, and he is a player who would be 36 by the time the next World Cup kicks off. Frankly, it would shock me to see Lionel Scaloni call up anyone playing in Major League Soccer for 6 years. Whether it is the last 2 years or the next 4, that specific position is going to face intense competition from some massive rising talents. The first name that immediately comes to mind is Giuliano Simeone. Sure, they are completely different players, but whenever Rodrigo de Paul subbed out, Giuliano was the one entering the pitch for Argentina. Whenever Argentina decides to set up with a four-man midfield, Scaloni uses Simeone to break defensive lines, and he is a player right in his physical prime, having been the third youngest player on the roster during the last World Cup. He would reach the next World Cup at 27 years old, offering support for the right back. He provides cover for the central midfielder, can overlap to cross, and play as a right winger. He can easily adapt to a four-man midfield, or drop back and slot perfectly into a defensive line of 5. That is exactly what Giuliano brings. I truly believe that with every FIFA international window, he will earn more playing time and claim a spot in the starting lineup, a trend we have seen since March of last year. Ever since March of last year, Giuliano Simeone has been right there on Scaloni's radar as a serious option for the starting 11, and I would honestly put Valentin Barco in that exact same category, especially now with Barco at Chelsea. We will see how much playing time Xabi Alonso gives to Valentin Barco at Chelsea, as he is set to join them in the coming days. Well, actually, he arrives sometime this week. We will see if Valentin Barco can establish himself as a key player for Chelsea, which could secure his spot in the national team. Then there is his position. Beyond his incredible versatility, Valentin Barco is a multifaceted talent who brings a wide array of skills to the pitch, and there is no doubt that his deep tactical toolkit will be extremely useful. Let's wait and see if Valentin Barco, who played such a minor role in the last World Cup, can find a way to earn significantly more minutes in this new cycle, perhaps even providing some much-needed defensive support in the midfield. He could become a crucial playmaker while also dropping back to help the defense. So why not? Like we said, we do not need to worry about Enzo Fernández and Alexis Allister. They are locks for Argentina starting 11. Now let's look at the attack. Lionel Messi faces a massive decision during a difficult week following his father passing. We will see what Lionel Messi decides. Honestly, when the time comes, I do not think he will speak. If Lionel Messi intends to keep playing for the national team, he will probably stay silent, wait for the official squad call-up list to drop, and simply show up to play. We must wait to see what plans Lionel Messi has, or what plans football has in store for him. For now, football is not retiring him. After all, he was the best player of the last World Cup at 39, so the football world is in no rush to force him out of Argentina. Because of that, we have to keep him in our starting 11, because he honestly remains the ultimate game changer for this Argentine national team. But if Lionel Messi decides to step aside in the near future, that is when we must turn our attention to Thiago Almada and Nico Paz as crucial successors. Moving to the striker position, we have Julian Alvarez playing as a 9, with Lautaro Martinez as the main alternative. Personally, if Lionel Messi decides to walk away from Argentina anytime soon, I expect Scaloni to adapt by shifting Julian Alvarez into Messi's playmaker role and starting Lautaro Martinez as the main striker. That is precisely why I am adding Lautaro Martinez to this conversation, because despite being a truly world-class forward with immense talent, and someone who has been in the national team for a long time, Lautaro Martinez has ever since the 2022 World Cup, Lautaro Martinez has never truly felt like an undisputed starter again. Every time the official team sheet was released, Lautaro Martinez had to look closely because he was never sure if he would start. Because of this, as the manager begins to transition away from older veterans and decide on the future of the squad, Lautaro Martinez could easily find himself back at the very center of Lionel Scaloni plans for the starting 11. Because of that, simply put, if we assume Dibu Martínez steps aside and Leandro Paredes does the same, we still have to see what happens with Rodrigo de Paul. Nicolas Tagliafico will be 37 years old by the next World Cup, and Noel Molina, who has struggled with form, meaning our lineup would be Musso, Giay, Romero, Lisandro, Medina, Simeone, Palacios, Enzo, Alexis, Giuliano, and Lautaro. That looks like the best starting 11 we could field without relying on any players who will be over 35 by the next World Cup. I definitely do not want to leave Máximo Perrone out of this equation, as he could easily fight his way into that midfield rotation. Because although Exequiel Palacios has filled in as a defensive midfielder, I am not entirely sure if he is the true anchor Scaloni wants to build the foundation of Argentina attack around. Perrone offers better vision, and he can play comfortably on both flanks. Palacios can do the job, but he is much better with some freedom. Over at Leverkusen, we always see him thriving in that double pivot. We really have to see if a strong start to the season by Perrone can actually push him into this starting 11, because why not? And that might just leave Palacios on the bench. Aside from that, we won't see many major changes. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. When you look at these names highlighted in gray, the ones who could potentially, and we are talking strictly hypothetical here, find themselves dropped from the Argentina squad. What would your starting 11 look like for the very next match? If you want to follow more of this massive roster rebuild happening with the Argentine national team, I have put together a special playlist featuring 3 videos that break down position by position all the fresh new faces ready to join the squad. I will see you right over in those videos.